Good evening and welcome to this presentation session by Crystal Korp from Kincannon and Reed. Crystal is the Senior Financial Analyst at Kincannon and Reed, and I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Crystal. Crystal, thank you so much for taking out your precious time to talk to our students today and share your experiences, share information about your career path. We are delighted to have you with us, and thank you once again for the time that you've taken out to talk to our students. I would like to also welcome all the participants for today's presentation. We have put up the audio and video recording notice. This meeting is being recorded for future use. If you would not like to be recorded, please feel free to keep your audio and video in switched off mode. I would like to now start off by introducing Crystal. Crystal, as I said, works as a senior financial analyst at Kincannon and Reed, an executive recruiting firm in the agricultural space. She has a rich background with 10 years of experience in corporate accounting and finance, and would love to share the different skills she utilized across her different roles, discuss current trends in finance, and provide guidance for working with recruiters. With that, I would like to now welcome Crystal to take over and begin her presentation. Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you so much for such a nice introduction. I'm really excited to be here. So thank you for spending time with me. Can everyone see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, when Shahzad invited me, we talked a little so I could learn more about my audience and whether a distillation of my particular career experience would be helpful to you all. He kindly replied that no two career paths are the same. Careers are not ladders, they're jungle gyms and zigzags. I'm truly honored to be talking with you today. My wife's a Chicago native, and anytime we meet someone from IIT, she loves to tell me what a renowned university it is. Just quickly, my qualifications. I have 10 years of experience working in corporate finance and accounting, where my primary responsibilities are accounts payable, accounts receivable, monthly close, building budgets, tracking spend invariance. I've worked for nonprofits, small businesses, and medium to large corporations. My career aspiration right now is a role in FP&A as I pursue my corporate financial planning and analysis certification. So the agenda for today, I wanted to share about my background and skills, trends in finance that I'm experiencing, and then also a little bit about working with recruiters. I wanted to ask everyone a question before we started the presentation. How confident do you feel about finding your next job? I would love to hear a number. If you could type it in the chat. Let's hear how folks are feeling right now.
Shafiq says he's feeling 8 to 9. We have another participant who's feeling, confident about 8. Another one says 4 to 5. Another participant says 6 to 7.
Okay, I'm glad it's on the more positive side. So thank you everyone for sharing that with me. I'll just dive right into my experience as an undergrad. I graduated in 2008 from a top-ranked business school at Arizona State's W.P. Carey School of Business with a bachelor's in finance. So what led me on this path? My influences included guidance from my family and those career aptitude tests where you complete some multiple choice questions and it spits out a recommended job for you. I was pretty artistic as a kid, but my mom's response to wanting to be an artist was rather stark. She told me, "You'll never make any money." So my 18-year-old brain was interested in being rich, and I concluded that knowing all about money is how I would achieve that. So it quickly directed me away from a major in leisure and hotel management, where I had also envisioned myself as an outdoor adventurer. While I was at ASU, I made sure to get involved. I joined a social sorority and a business fraternity, and I served as treasurer for both those organizations. I really enjoyed making sure that our goals were financially feasible and that the resources were available. It served as a really safe space for me to develop my leadership skills, communication, and collaboration skills. And I got a lot of inspiration from being part of these grassroots efforts. Just to highlight the difference, missions, and the culture of these orgs, Alpha Kappa Psi is a professional co-ed business fraternity. It's the oldest and largest business fraternity, founded in 1904. Whereas Gamma Rho Lambda is a social sorority for LGBTQ plus students and allies, founded in 2003. Reflecting on these differences helped me understand what I might like in a working environment. So I realized I liked something highly structured with plenty of resources, but I also enjoyed growing with the opportunity for making a large impact. While I served in these roles, I received feedback that plenty of people struggle with numbers or budgets, and they said I made it approachable. So that reinforced that I was using my skills in the right place. At that time, nearing graduation, I'm feeling proud of my resume with a good GPA from a premier business school. I held the treasury roles. I had work experience in accounting, and I had the opportunity to study abroad in Chile as part of earning my international business certificate. And it turns out that I'm graduating during the 2008 recession. It was the global financial meltdown triggered by the collapse of the US housing bubble. What does it mean to be a recent grad during a recession? Young workers are especially vulnerable to current economic conditions, and those graduating into a recession face worse employment prospects and tend to receive lower earnings relative to the luckier peers who graduated just before or just after the recession. So I took some time to reflect on how do I choose which direction of finance to go in. What life and career did I envision for myself? I was committed to finance as a sensible career choice. Investment banking was trending, but it lacked an altruistic aspect like providing microloans for women in third world countries. Another interest I considered. I was dreaming big, but I was lacking plenty of information that would have helped me create an action plan with the steps and the timeline to get there. Trying to strike the balance. I was interested in a role as a personal financial advisor because I had a passion for educating folks on financial literacy. And I thought I'd be helping my friends and family achieve their big dreams. I'd interviewed with some financial advising firms, and they would ask me how many personal and professional contacts I had. I thought that was a strange question. It was when I realized that it involved sales. And as hard as I tried, it wasn't a good fit for my introverted personality. Did my expectations align with reality? Learning what I didn't like in a role has been just as valuable as learning what I do like. And that has been very valuable for helping me decide my next steps. I have a question for everyone. Have you ever explored a potential career or job path and found out it wasn't a good fit? Follow-up question would be, what did it tell you about yourself? I would love to hear if anyone has a story to share. So the question was, have you ever explored a potential job or career path and found it wasn't a good fit? What did it tell you about yourself?
You guys can open up your mic and speak as well if you want to. So if anybody wants to answer that question that Crystal has posed, please feel free to turn your mics on and speak if you don't mind being recorded. Otherwise, you can chat, or you can raise your hand and I can ask you to speak.
Hey, Umesh here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Umesh.
Hey, hi. So yeah, like I started my career as an engineer. I work for like yeah, a few Fortune 500 companies like Tesla and Applied Materials. I worked there as a mechanical engineer. So yeah, I started like you. Yeah, I was very interested in math. So I started working as a mechanical engineer, did a lot of designing for them, and then realized this is not my passion. Like I don't enjoy it anymore. So I was in your shoe, and then yeah, it took me like, and then I started figuring out different options, like what are the best options that matches with my skill and that I enjoy. And then yeah, I did like coding. I tried coding, and then yeah, start. Then one of my friend recommended me, you can try stocks, and that was like 2018, I think December 2018, and the stock market was going down. So yeah, I tried it, and somehow I started liking it, and then I took it as a part-time profession for 2-3 years to make sure, this is what I like and that's what my passion is. And then I realized, yeah, this is what I like. So then finally I decided to switch my field and here I am. So yeah, that was my story, somewhat similar to you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really enjoyed that story. Thank you, Umesh.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else? Perfect. We'll move on. So the economic conditions during the recession made it difficult, and Phoenix didn't have the opportunities I was looking for. So I decided to move to a bigger city like New York or LA or Chicago when I was 24, with the spirit of everything would work out. I knew one or two people in Chicago, but when I started reaching out to my network, I was introduced to a firm who was willing to take me on a temporary basis. That firm was Spencer Stewart. Spencer Stewart is one of the world's leading global executive search and leadership firms. They specialize in placing C-suite executives. So just included a few stats here just to show the difference of kind of the different size companies and the mission that I've worked for. So how did I find my company and role? I took a risk and I moved across the country. Being an introvert, networking was painful for me, but it's exactly what got me noticed. I didn't know what executive search was until I arrived at the company. The role was temporary and administrative in nature, and my current situation made a paycheck top priority. So it wasn't a direct path, but it was in the right direction. What skills helped me level up? I enthusiastically said yes to any project they would give me. I worked independently and I searched for a tiny margin of improvement in everything I did. As a result, I gained the trust of leadership and proved my work ethic, and I was quickly offered a full-time role as an accounts payable specialist. It really honed my attention to detail, ability to meet deadlines, and my organization skills. I was still interested in a role as a financial analyst, so I focused on meeting the company's needs so they'd be more open to meeting my needs. I would read the Financial Times in the kitchen at work and pick out any topics that I could discuss with the head of Treasury so that they knew I was intellectually curious. After 2 years in accounts payable, I was promoted to the Treasury Department. The skills required were more analytical since you're working to ensure the firm's liquidity. One of my projects involved analyzing losses from cross-currency transactions. The US was issuing invoices in a currency different than the US dollar. In the time that it took the client to pay us, the exchange rates had fluctuated and we'd receive a lesser amount. My findings were shared with the CFO, and as a result, a new policy was implemented where if a contract was in euro, it was required to be issued from an office that held a euro bank account. And the firm was able to greatly minimize its foreign exchange exposure. So what did I like most? that policy resulting from my research felt very impactful. I had provided information to leadership that aided in their decision making. My treasury work was interesting, but there was a greater need in a different department. I had gained the attention of our global controller, who recruited me to his accounting team. I had initially chosen finance over accounting when deciding my undergrad study, but I loved the company culture and the people. And there was a prestige working for one of the top 5 executive recruiting firms. And having served in my prior roles, I had this fantastic cross-functional view across the different departments, and I was able to distinguish myself as a go-to person, and that really felt fulfilling. At company meetings, the CFO would praise the accounting team. The lights don't come on without you. Folks don't get paid without you. So that felt good. The role was really heavy in the nitty-gritty debits and credits, and monthly close began to feel really repetitive. And rather than being the person reporting on historical performance, I wanted to be the person receiving the financial statements and using them to provide projections and analysis to aid the company's strategy. How did the experience impact me? I had a track record of steady growth and expanding responsibilities. I was improving the role, going above and beyond. I thrived with structure and occasionally received some special projects that kept me curious and interested. I was the founder of 2 culture groups, which highlighted my passion for creating a positive and holistic work environment. There was a change in the business. The board was concerned about missing revenue targets, and a new CFO was appointed. There was a noticeable shift in the culture. Resources were shifted away from the culture groups, and career development was lower on the priority list. So that was disappointing, but I understood why. I was asking the questions, what can I do to get to the next level? What skills or certifications are currently missing from the firm's skill set? CPAs were in demand, as well as financial planning and analysis. But it became apparent that the upward mobility wouldn't be according to my preferred timeline, and the opportunities I was looking for weren't available to me, as the firm increasingly was hiring external talent. So career transitions. What if I don't like what I'm doing? I was dreading opening my laptop daily, and I wasn't sure why. I remind myself I had a role I was great at. I was making great money. My working hours were reasonable. I rarely took work home, so I had a nice work-life balance. These are all great reasons to stay, right? And then I asked myself, do you see yourself doing this for another 5 years? Absolutely not. That was really jarring to admit, and I was scared to start over. How did I get here? You heard me describe my steadily increasing responsibilities and building of relationships that got me to this point. My previous advocate had departed the firm, and I no longer had that person that was a few levels above me to see the potential in me and champion for me. The time for annual reviews would come along, and I was prepared to express my career aspirations, but I was lacking confidence, and in the back of my mind, I wasn't confident that I was capable of stretching that high, and my career aspirations lacked measurable steps and timelines. Without persistence, it was easier for me to simply allow my supervisor to tell me, we'll see what comes up. So my weak attempts at follow-up weren't getting any traction. When I saw that my manager and my supervisor didn't see my potential, I started doubting my own potential. It was increasingly clear that I couldn't stay. So in the middle of the COVID pandemic, without any job leads, I resigned. Why was reflecting important? It was a really terrible mindset to be in as I tried to rally myself to make my next step. It was like having a bad breakup and then jumping right back in the dating pool without taking time to reflect. I was mad about the lack of support from the people who I felt had expressed a genuine urge to help me advance. I felt like I had wasted 10 years moving in the wrong direction, that I'd allowed myself to take the path of least resistance in accounting instead of pursuing finance. The self-doubt crept in. How could I possibly get into an FP&A role from bookkeeping? During a mock interview with my now mentor, she told me that I sounded beat up. It helped me stop denying that the experience had impacted me. Something dragged me down. I had a negative experience and I needed to address the negative experiences. I had learned about myself through working with a toxic boss. So everyone says I want to work in something that I'm passionate about. So how did I find my passion? What I did next was build a plan to get my confidence back and investigate what I truly wanted in my next company and role. What made me feel calm and confident? Yoga. So I'd go to the lakefront daily. I'd do yoga in the park, jump in the lake when I was done. I was nervously attending networking events about changing careers in midlife, and I was boosted by other women's stories of identifying their transferable skills and making similar big moves. I volunteered to give a presentation to my sorority's alumni group about personal finance for young adults to practice my public speaking skills and share about a topic I was passionate about and give back to the community. I had applied for my corporate financial planning and analysis certification, and I'd committed hours to studying daily. And I was extremely relieved that my 10 years of experience in corporate finance gave me a context to apply these new concepts I was learning. Addressing my negative experiences and finding my passion made my cover letter and resume writing and interview prep a lot more enjoyable. I had to sell myself to myself before I could sell myself to someone else, if that makes sense. So I have a little quote here. Human beings in society, they're getting more complex. Professionals are no longer satisfied with clocking in and out. They want to be engaged and contribute to a company that cares about the impact it has. So Kincannon and Reed is where I currently work. Their mission is to serve clients who feed the world and keep it healthy. They're an executive recruiting firm that works in the food and agriculture industry. So you can see they're quite a bit younger. They're 20 employees compared to 2,500 at Spencer Stewart, and a lot smaller revenue. How did I find that company and role? I had been interviewing for 4 months. I needed to practice after not interviewing for 10 years. So I sat for as many interviews and coffee chats as possible. My strategy on LinkedIn was to search for the role that I was interested in, find roles where I had connections with someone, and reach out to talk to them. These connections were not first or second. I would be reaching out to people that attended Arizona State in the 1970s, but I sent the message anyway, and it was working out. My message sounded something like this. I'm looking for a role as a financial analyst, and your resume must have stood out. Can I hear more about your job to see if it's a good fit? Do you have any advice for what can make my resume stand out? I'm reaching to where you're at Your career journey is inspiring to me and aligns with my future goals. I'd love to hear what brought you to where you are today. Do my expectations of the role align with the reality? So you just flattered them and explained why they were going to help you. At the end of these talks, I would ask if they'd be willing to refer me to the role internally, and no one ever said no. A former colleague of Spencer Stewart reached out on LinkedIn, and they were recruiting for a financial coordinator role and asked if I knew anyone. So of course I said me. And the great part about having a prior relationship with this person is that I trusted their judgment when I asked about the company's goals and trajectory. She herself was being given the autonomy to explore and try new things, and that was important to me. She put me in touch with another former Spencer Stewart colleague who had joined the team. He felt it was a great company under strong leadership, and his goal was to secure a full-time position. This person that reached out, they coached me for my interviews with the finance director and the presidents, and I felt really good connection with them. I was able to confidently articulate what I was looking for in a role and the types of responsibilities I was interested in. I described how I was transitioning from accounting to finance, spoke to my transferable skills, and shared experiences that demonstrated my leadership, experience implementing new technology, and my passion for fostering a holistic company culture. It sounded something like this. I've worked on the accounting team on granular debits and credits, month-end closed, financial statements, and controlling budgets. The projects that kept me engaged and learning involved working with blended teams where I was responsible for providing financial analysis to support decision-making, tracking and reporting for different operational initiatives. And I realized I loved working with other stakeholders on the team, witnessing the synergies of different departments working together. And I wanted to get more of the strategy part, helicopter up from the details and stand on that mountain and see the tools available to solve the problem. As a result, I was offered the role, and they agreed it was more appropriate to give me the title of Senior Financial Analyst. This was important to show my career progression as I aspire to my next role in FP&A. So what do I like most and least about the role? I like corporate because it's structured and it has the resources, but I dislike corporate for other reasons. I felt this company had the right balance. The company has a noble mission and huge growth potential. I love the open lines of communication and the support with my finance director. To talk about a little things that I like the least, we're a finance team of 2 people, so the non-strategic financial administrative work, like processing expense reports and paying vendor bills, it's still half of my role in addition to my more strategic analytical work. Once the revenue justifies it, we have plans to hire a person below me to take over admin responsibilities. My boss will hand some of her responsibilities to me, and that'll free her up to do more impactful work. So with patience and putting in my dues, the more sophisticated analysis work will come. My boss is verbally committed to getting me analyst experience, and when we meet quarterly to track progress and we work together to identify projects and opportunities, that'd be a good fit. What skills are helping level me up? Absolutely an analytical mindset and thinking through challenges rationally. I'm encouraged to be curious and identify areas of improvement, and I have ownership in that. It's a change and a stretch from being a task rabbit, and I'm extremely excited that I have this overall view of what it takes to run a company. It's something I had a difficult time connecting the dots and understanding how my work contributed to the company's strategy in my prior roles. My positivity and excitement energizes others. And I've received feedback on how much that helps when facing challenges. I don't think I expected that. I have exposure to my boss's boss, the president, and his knowledge of what I'm working on is critical for my visibility. I'm working on sharing projects with my boss's peers and getting their feedback, asking, what do you make of this? I received advice to make myself irreplaceable. An accountant can easily be replaced, but I need to create value as a financial analyst so that they don't want to lose me. I had learned a lot about myself through the career transition, and I shared these things with my boss so she can help me get to where I want to go. How has the experience impacted me? It was the first time I had a boss say that they were proud of me, and I realized how important positive feedback was. I'm encouraged to present myself as the expert in my role and be confident in my ideas. I felt in control when I'm asking myself, what else does this job spill into? I know that I don't want my career to encompass my life. I want to have energy when I close my laptop and be available to my wife and my sisters and their new babies to support them. So that's it really on my career experience. To summarize a little bit, I'm growing, I'm learning, and I'm preparing for my next role within the org with help from leadership. If you're ever curious to know how it's going, please don't hesitate to reach out. Are there any questions?
Yes, Crystal, there are a couple of questions. Would you like to take them now or after a quick break?
Let's take them now.
Sure.
And then we can take a little break.
Awesome. So from your experience, what are some of the skills or tools required for financial analysts?
The number one I'm going to say is that analytical mindset. That's absolutely an important one. Something that you might not expect is curiosity. You want to kind of look outside of your role to see what's the company's strategy and how can you contribute in your role to support that. So it's looking for those little areas of opportunity to show that you understand the company's goals and that you have ideas that can contribute to meeting those goals.
Here's another question. How is the work-life balance in this industry?
I feel really positive about my work-life balance, and that's something that I made sure to talk about with my current employer before I joined the role. I went about talking about it in terms of personal wellness and making sure that, you know, there's an absolute time that I'm going to close my laptop just for your mental health, your physical health, that it was really important to me that there was a steady work-life balance. My boss, you know, she works quite a few more hours than I do, but I'm solid like 40, 45 hours a week, and that feels right for me. And I feel like I'm still having the time to explore my future steps and complete my role and my responsibilities as it is. So, yeah.
I know that there is a question. We will get back to that question as and when Crystal pauses for it.
Thank you. Well, I consulted a great article from Deloitte about trends in finance. These are a few topics that I'm personally experiencing in my role. I'll ask that you envision yourself in an interview and how you can work these topics into the conversation to convey your experience. A clear and concise way to explain your experience is, I identified an issue with X, I took steps Y, and as a result, Z successes. First topic, remote work. I'm finding it's way too easy to disappear while working remote, and being visible takes practice. Keep your camera on and unmute. When I have questions in a meeting, I'm pushing myself to ask right away. I'm volunteering to present things on global calls and taking on stretch assignments. Demonstrating my talents and advocating for my work doesn't come naturally as a humble person. As an introvert, people say to me, "You're so quiet." I have to say that I take time to digest things and I'll get back to you. So they know that I heard and I understood. There are fewer opportunities for unexpected connections with my colleagues that would have usually happened in the hallways or cafeteria. So I have to find different ways to build relationships. You know, one of the pros is that I have more control over my day, but one of the cons is that you could be working after hours with no definitive close the laptop and go home. Awesome. We'll move to the next one, digital tools. So finance is going to continue to automate, but the focus is going to shift away from operations finance to financial insight. Finance will continue to increasingly focus on big data, analytics, predictive modeling to inform business strategy and decisions. While few finance functions will have a truly touchless back office, mundane tasks will become easier to automate through ERP systems and other means. This is going to free up finance to apply automation to planning, forecasting, and other high-value activities. Finance will hire more people who can configure and customize tools to generate insights, and work will increasingly be done remotely as hybrid workplaces become common. Finance organizations will still need traditional finance and accounting skills, but they'll also need workers with capabilities drawn from such areas as operations, technology, and engineering. People with business acumen, a service mindset, and digital savvy will be in great demand. At my prior company, I served on a team responsible for implementing new technology. In interviews, I spoke to the issue, the actions I performed to resolve the issues, and the result. It sounded like this. The CFO had identified the need for an upgrade to our accounting database. I volunteered to serve on a team responsible for testing the technology to ensure my job functions could be completed successfully. As a result, the database was launched according to schedule, nearly flawless, and available for immediate use. At my current company, we're upgrading across multiple databases. It's a tall order, but I'm seeing a multiplier effect where gains in one area facilitate progress in another. Our principles set guiding principles of upgrading our systems, upgrading our people, and then upgrading our business. So I am watching how he's deciding where change is necessary. He started with a system that was most important to the people who generate the revenue with a CRM. Next, we're going to upgrade our expense reporting software. That's going to save our recruiters time. It's going to improve the quality of our data, and it'll speed up the data collection. Finally, our accounting database will be upgraded. I'm working to identify restraints with the current system, and I'm responsible for building a business case in favor of an upgrade. This is an investment in a cost center and a database that only finance team works in. So the current issues and the pain points aren't being experienced firsthand by the people that are going to improve, that will be approving the investment. So the business case will include what our current state looks like, the existing issues, identifying what future state could look like with a dream system, and then the resulting time savings, efficiency, the additional insight that'll be gained and help justify the increase in cost. I'm working to standardize some of our non-strategic finance processes. And it has been interesting that I've identified use cases to prove the value of automation and how it will work. So thinking big, but starting small. It's important that my boss feels confident that the way that I'm generating results is accurate. So that's how I'm approaching it with small use cases. Last topic. Trends in finance. Data analytics. Standardized and high quality data will become even more important, as data is the foundation for business insights, automation, and touchless operations. Having bad data flow into an automated AI system won't create efficiencies or result in practical business insights. To realize its digital transformation path, finance will need an enterprise data strategy with strong oversight. Finance will need to sharpen its processes and change management skills. Otherwise, workaround solutions will have to grow ever more complex. Let's see. At my prior company, there was a need for more timely reporting. So the accountants studied their processes and identified areas where time could be saved. As a result, we shortened our close cycle by 3 days. Although real-time financial data will still be a ways off, quarterly reporting is predicted to gradually lose its relevance. And both investors and management are going to require more timely information to make decisions. The demands of off-cycle reporting will accelerate as industries converge, new business models are created, and the post-pandemic economy addresses its supply chain, technology, and workforce constraints. Finance will need to provide off-cycle insights while still delivering a cyclical reports efficiently. Technology is going to help to do so, but getting the desired results aren't going to be a slam dunk. In my current role, there's a need to upgrade our CIRM. So the VP of operations was responsible for implementing a new database. It's an out-of-the-box solution, so it's not highly customizable. And Kincannon and Reed's goal is to operate like traditional firms. So we're adapting our processes to the industry standard. It's a very large investment for the company, and there's a lot of talent and resources supporting it. My role requires that I'm in the database frequently, and I identified an issue with the way the data was being captured. I'm working to zoom out and understand what data is most important as it relates to tracking the company's performance and measure their key metrics. Currently, the system's asking the user to input data that doesn't add value or insight, and other important data fields that we do need to track simply weren't a required field. So as a result of me investigating this, the database will be reconfigured to capture high quality data in a standardized ways. So they might seem like small examples of these trends in finance. If you think about it, these trends are interconnected. Automation may be enabled by a new enterprise resource planning to upgrade. Self-service and faster reporting cycles can transform finance's role. And main takeaway is that everything hinges on good data and a skilled workforce. Are there any thoughts about what I just presented?
It looks like there are a couple of questions, Crystal. Is this a good time to take those questions?
Yeah.
Awesome. Could you talk about what's a typical day of your job look like? Any challenges you have faced till now?
Absolutely. Great question. My typical day, I'm analyzing financial results and reporting on performance metrics. I maintain actual versus forecasted data. I'm responsible for month-end close, where you roll up all the accounts into the financial statement. I build reports. I do some ad hoc financial analysis. Day to day, it requires a proficiency in Excel. I'm working with formulas and functions. I work with pivot tables, VLOOKUPs, those kind of formulas and functions. And I've really seen the value to have the ability to quickly master a new system and partner with internal clients with a consultative approach. So that's kind of a everyday task or my month to month. Thanks for the question.
Here's another question. How did you prepare yourself for financial analyst interviews? Did you refer to any books? Or how did you make yourself ready for those interviews?
The coffee chats were actually a really huge help. I would talk about people that were at the level that I wanted to be at, and they would be able to give me a description of what their day-to-day would look like, or they would be able to explain to me challenges that their company was facing. And I could turn around and I could ask my potential interviewers about these topics that I knew were being experienced. So it was a lot of practice of just articulating my experience. And I think that's really what helped me.
Those were the questions that I had, Crystal.
Thank you all. So I have one last topic that I would love to share with you. It's about working with recruiters. Working with recruiters, they can help you find the right job quickly. They have good working relationships with hiring managers and other HR professionals that can really benefit you in your job search. So hopefully these tips can make the time you spend working with a recruiter more productive. My first tip would be prepare. You want to prepare for your first meeting with a new recruiter like you would for a job interview. Make sure your resume is updated. It has your relevant and current work and education history. Prepare to describe your career goals, preferred industry and location, and the tasks you like to perform. I recommend practicing this until you can do it confidently and accurately. You can explain what your dream job looks like. You'll want to consider your salary expectations. A recruiter negotiates on your behalf, so be honest about the average salary for your career, taking into account your experience and your education. Another tip is to communicate openly. Open communication gives recruiters the tools they need to effectively represent you. Be prepared to answer, what's your timeline? Are you happy in your current role and you just want to establish a relationship to protect against unforeseen circumstances? Or do you need a job yesterday? You want to explain potential areas of concern on your resume. For example, my work history had an 8-month gap because I was acting as a caregiver to a family member. Be honest about the firm job requirements that you have. If you want to only work in a particular location, or if you only want to work on weekdays. I personally split my time between Phoenix and Chicago, so must be remote is my firm requirement. Lastly, be respectful. Use a respectful tone and polite manners whenever you interact with recruiters. Your recruiters will assume that you'll show the same courtesy to any employer, and they'll feel more confident recommending you for roles. Speak calmly, courteously, and professionally at all times. You want to keep your correspondence brief, and communicating only when necessary shows that you respect your recruiter's time and their other commitments. Make sure you attend all appointments your recruiter schedules. It shows that you're trustworthy and reliable. A fast response can help you seize any time-sensitive opportunities, such as same-day interviews. So definitely recommend checking your email and your LinkedIn regularly. When corresponding with your recruiters regularly, make sure they think of you whenever they find suitable roles. It's a good idea to communicate with your recruiters every 2 to 4 weeks. A brief message saying that you're still looking for work and hope to hear from them soon can be an effective reminder of your job search. Lastly, whether they helped you secure a position or not, take the time to thank them for their assistance. They might even approach you with an attractive job offer in the future to help advance your careers. Are there any questions on anything I just presented on?
So, Crystal, yes, I think one of the students is actually pursuing marketing analytics. She is interested in a role as a financial analyst as well. So she just wanted to get a feel of how she can upgrade her skills, what kind of courses she should maybe, take up to apply and be successful as a financial analyst.
I mentioned that I'm currently pursuing my corporate FP&A certification. It's been compared to a CPA or a CFA. The requirements are a little different. You sit for 2 exams, about 4 hours each, and then you require 3 years of experience in the field working with that. So that's how I went about getting additional education that would help make the transition. But I imagine there could be other certifications out there. I got Excel certified, so I have proof that I know about some of those really useful functions. Otherwise, again, find someone that's making a similar career transition. And what my challenge was is that people in the finance world didn't believe that someone with accounting experience was a good fit. So I knew that that was the battle I was up against. And I really focused on identifying my transferable skills and just finding examples in my prior roles that pointed towards me being qualified and like capable of doing the new role. But thank you for the question.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Well,
Any other questions before we take up this final survey question from Crystal? Does anybody else have any other question? All right, Crystal.
awesome. Well, I'm curious after sharing my experience if there's been any change. So how confident do you feel about finding your next job after hearing about my experience and my successes in moving into a new role and really training on the job to make sure that I can reach to the next role that I'm interested in? So how confident are folks feeling?
Hey, Umesh here. Yeah, it was very helpful. Thanks for sharing the details.
Thank you, Umesh. Yeah, thank you, Umesh. Thank you, Mega. Thank you, Han King, for being here. Thanks for your time and attention. My door is always open for questions or feedback. Do you have any movement on the scale, Shazad?
Yes, we are seeing 8 to 9, 8 to 9, a 7, And I did see one question come in.
Great.
Another 8 to 9. Oh my God. Another 8 to 9. Yes, we have quite a few 8 to 9. So there's been a considerable improvement, I would say, from where and there's a 10 as well, a 9. Awesome. Awesome. Another 10. And yeah, I think, thank you so much, Crystal. I think the session was really helpful. The one last question, I just don't want to miss out this question that the student has asked. If you can briefly answer the importance of CFA designation in this field from your perspective.
I looked into the CFA, and the reason I decided to go in the FP&A role direction is because FP&A was directly focused in corporate finance, and I'm pretty confident that I want to continue to work in corporate finance. I believe the CFA could prepare you for a wide, like a very diverse role in finance. I think you could hold a bunch of different career or like roles based on what you learn in the CFA. And I know that it's time consuming, it's very challenging, it has quite a low passing rate, but I know that's the same for FP&A and CPA and CFA. So I would recommend that you reach out to people. When I would do my coffee chats, I'd say I'm pursuing my corporate FP&A. Do you think that this is something that would help me? So I'd encourage you to ask people that went through the program and understand where it helped get them to, and make sure that that's something that aligns with your goals.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Crystal. We are at time, slightly, in fact, over time. Thank you once again, Crystal, for taking all those questions. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation for our students. I'm sure that students have, as you could see from your own survey, started off with maybe 4 to 6, 6 to 8, and now we have ended up at 8 to 9 and 9s and 10s. So thank you once again for the time you have taken to talk to our students. And all the I would like to thank all the participants as well. I have chatted that we have another presentation coming up tomorrow. Utkarsh Chaudhary, from a senior financial engineer from ICE, is going to be here to talk to you about careers in quant finance, quantitative finance. I would like you all to participate in that event as well. If you have not signed up already, please do so right away. With those few words, I would like to end this session. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, everyone. I know you have really cool goals and great things that you want to accomplish, so I wish you the absolute best, everyone. I had a couple of sources that I mentioned, so those will be at the end of the presentation if it's something you want to look into. Thank you for your time and attention. My door is always open for questions or feedback, so thank you, everyone.